here's your situation. Let's just do 3 years. 1, I'm making up the numbers here, 2, 3. And here's your profit before your loan loss provision, LLP. All right? And then I'm going to put a loan loss provision in, and you'll see the scope for playing around with profit numbers here. So let's say a bank is looking at a profit number in year 1 of 150 million. This could be dollars or sterling. Okay, profit in year 2 of 100 million. And a profit in year 3. This is before we do any of that messing around I mentioned with problem loans, problem assets, problem receivables of 80 million. That's not looking good. All right? Our core operations are gradually slowing us down, 150 to 100 to 80. So how can I use what I just said to reverse the picture? Literally reverse it. Turn declining profits into the opposite. Here's what I do. I convince investors and the auditors and the regulators and so on that what I need to do is put a loan loss provision of 50 million in year 1, which reduces the overall profit, that's a funny little symbol, to 100 million. Now this was happening during the credit crisis. Okay, banks would say, oh, got to be careful. Okay, all these loans we've made, all these mortgages we've made, a whole load of them are not going to come back. We're not going to get 100% back, so we need to start making provisions. Okay, we need to start writing them down. Okay, taking hits to profits, being prudent, being cautious, looking ahead. Okay, and then of course what happens is, so you've got that booked. What happens is, a couple of years later, the banks start saying, well, actually, we were a bit over cautious. We don't really need all that 50 million provision. It turns out not as many mortgages are underwater as we thought they would be. More people are going to pay us back than we thought. So here's what you do. Maybe you think, well, actually, we don't need the full 50 hit to profit, so we'll reverse 10 million of it into year 2, which creates an overall reported profit of 110 million. And we'll reverse the other 40 back into profits in year 3, which brings that up to 120 million. And hey presto, as if by magic, having played around with your loan loss provisions, you've turned falling profits into rising profits. All right? And this line here has nothing to do with cash flow. No cash is coming in or out of the business that relates to these numbers. Okay? And it's got very little to do with your core operations, which is what's happening here. All it does is allow a bank, and it's not just banks, companies can do this with stock provisions, receivables and so on, but I won't go into that here. It allows them to change the face of the profit and loss account, literally change the view taken away by an investor of how much money they're making. And in the case of Bank of America in the 3rd quarter, they actually turned what would have been a massive loss into a profit simply by reversing, we're talking sort of more than 2 billion worth, not the 40 million I've got here, simply by reversing out previous provisions against dodgy loans.